pour into cozy Noah vibes where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. I'm your host, Noah, and it is wonderful to have your company tonight. I'm so excited to read you tonight's story. Together, we'll be traveling back in time to the year 1911. On December the 13th, our story takes place in a small town called Vadstena in the southeast of Sweden. The winter solstice, the coldest, darkest night of the year, is fast approaching, and on this day across Scandinavia, people will be celebrating the feast of Saint Lucia. Now, as you settle into the comfort and coziness of your bed, get nicely snuggled under your covers. Can you imagine yourself as a little animal getting settled in for a long winter's hibernation? This is your time to rest and re-energize. So let go of any lingering sense you may have of needing to do anything, to fix anything, or quite frankly, to think about anything at all. Nobody else expects you to sort anything or to problem solve while you're sleeping. So if you're subconsciously sensing that pressure on yourself, let it go. Take a nice deep breath in now, and as you breathe back out, feel the tension in your body ease away. On your next breath in, say to yourself, I am, and as you exhale, say calm. I am calm by repeating and affirming simple phrases like this. Your body and mind will follow, so close your eyes if they're still open, and just follow the sound of my voice as I take you to this small Swedish village at the turn of the 20th century, and in the very depths of winter. On the morning of December 13th, Astrid woke up easily, even though it was still as black as midnight through the frosted pane of her bedroom window. She climbed out of bed, smoothed the warm, feather-stuffed duvet back over her mattress, and pulled a pair of warm woolen slippers with a sheepskin lining onto her bare feet. She took a deep sniff of the air. It was warm with the scent of saffron, raisins, baking dough, and brewing coffee. Astrid crept down the stairs, careful to avoid the step that creaked so she wouldn't wake her grandma or her sister, and went down to the kitchen. Her mama was already awake. As Astrid walked into the brightly painted kitchen, Mama pulled out a tray of fresh LSEK adder, or saffron buns studded with plum raisins, from the oven. The steam clouded the windows. Papa was standing over the stove brewing coffee. He always drank a cup of the thick, strong brew before he went out to work at the smithy, where he was a blacksmith. In a cradle in the corner, Astrid's baby brother Niels was gently gurgling. A bundle of birch twigs was laid across the kitchen table right next to the Advent wreath. A paper star hung in the window. Christmas was just around the corner. Both Mama and Papa smiled when they saw Astrid come in. Today was a special day for all of Vadstena and for all of Sweden, but it was extra special for Astrid. Today, Astrid had been chosen to play the part of Saint Lucia in the evenings. Lucia parade. Grandma appeared in the kitchen doorway, She smiled at Astrid to unruffle the girl's fair hair before she went to stand by the ceramic stove that stood in a corner of the kitchen and filled the room with its cozy warmth. Last down the stairs and into the kitchen was Linnea, Astrid's younger sister. She emerged in the doorway with her hair still ruffled from sleep, clutching the red-painted wooden horse. That was her favorite toy. Her eyes widened when she looked around the room and realized that everyone else in the family was already awake. The last person to wake up on St. Lucia's Day was nicknamed Lucy the Loose, and was given a light playful slap with a bundle of birch twigs. Linnea giggled. She was Lucy the Loose this morning. Mama was already reaching for the bundle of birch twigs. With a laugh, Linnea ran around the kitchen table until Mama caught her, tapping her on the legs with the batch before folding her up into a hug. Then the whole family sat down for the day's special breakfast. The Alice SEK adder were buttery and golden. The lightly spicy taste of saffron danced on Astrid's tongue. She tore off a scrap of bun and fed it to little Nils. He was not quite 1 year old, and today would be his very first Lucia Day. Grandma had seen nearly 80 of them, and as she often told Astrid and Linnea, on her 13th Lucia Day she was chosen to lead the procession. Linnea finished her saffron bun and then wondered aloud why today was the day they celebrated St. Lucia. Astrid had learned all about the holiday in school, so she explained it. St. Lucia was a young girl about the same age as Astrid is now, who lived in Syracuse, a city in Sicily, an Italian island in the faraway bright blue of the Mediterranean Sea. She lived a long time ago, so long ago that there were no street lamps or even oil lamps and certainly no electricity. In those days in Italy, it was very dangerous to be a Christian. To avoid persecution, many devout men and women hid in the catacombs, a network of underground tunnels that ran beneath the streets of the city. They were safe there, though they often had very little to eat and drink. Lucia had a kind heart, and she couldn't bear to think of the poor people going hungry and thirsty. So she filled her apron and her pockets with food and crept into the catacombs. At night, she needed to keep her hands free to share out the food, so she couldn't carry a candle with her into the deep, dark tunnels. Instead, she wore a wreath woven from fragrant laurel leaves atop her head, fixed for candles into the wreath, and the light from the candles illuminated her path. That was why Astrid finished every year on December 13th. All over Scandinavia, people remembered Lucia's goodness by holding a large procession in her honor. And every year, a young girl from the town was chosen to represent Lucia herself, leading the procession wearing a crown of candles on her head. Linnea still wasn't satisfied. She wanted to know why Lucia's feast was celebrated today, December 13th. Why not in the springtime? Why not in summer? Astrid couldn't help laughing. They couldn't possibly celebrate Lucia's Day in summer. Summer was for the midsummer celebrations when everyone picnicked in the fields under the midnight sun. and danced around the Napoli with flowers in their hair. But then she thought about it some more. She wasn't exactly sure why Lucia's feast was celebrated in deepest, darkest December. In the old days, Grandma explained, these long December days were very trying for the people of Sweden. It was bitterly cold, that on years when the harvest had been bad, food was sometimes scarce. Some superstitious folk even believed that on the days around midwinter, bad spirits roamed through the night. That's why they needed light. Light scares away the bad spirits. Light brings comfort. Even in hungry years, a night of merry, candlelit singing and dancing could distract the villagers from their rumbling stomachs. Soon, Grandma told them, the year would turn a corner. The dark, cold nights would grow slowly less dark and less cold. For these next few nights, darkness held Sweden tight in its grip, which was why this was when they celebrated the feast of St. Lucia. Astrid had a very important job to do tonight. Grandma finished. She had to bring cheer and warmth to light up the darkest time of the year. But before she did that, Mama reminded all three of them. She had to go to school. Astrid and Linnea got dressed in their warmest clothes, then strapped heavy snowshoes to their feet and stepped outside into the winter morning. It was still dark, although the sky was gradually lightening to a pale gray color. Astrid was glad to reach the red wooden schoolhouse and step into its warmth. Today, the school had a festive atmosphere. In her classroom, the chalkboard was covered with serious things, rules of grammar and the mathematical equation for calculating the perimeter of a triangle. But no one, not even her teacher, Fr. Ken Carlson, was bothered with anything like that. Today was devoted entirely to the preparations for the evening's procession. Everyone was busy crafting their costumes. Astrid began to weave the crown she would wear on her head. She used branches from the lingonberry tree that grew in the schoolyard. Lucia's wreath was always made from lingonberry branches, as the lingonberry was an evergreen tree, which kept its leaves even in the depths of winter. It symbolized spring and hope in the coming of new life. As Astrid wove the wreath, her hands grew sticky with sap, and the leaves she crushed between her fingers let off a sharp green smell. She couldn't help thinking of the spring days that would soon come, when the fields would be full of lambs learning to walk, and the forget-me-not-s would burst into blossom. Around her, her classmates worked at their own costumes. Some of them were weaving lingonberry branches just like Astrid to make the wreaths they'd wear on their heads. Some were cutting patterns into white fabric and sewing the long, flowing gowns they'd wear for the procession. One of the older girls, who was a particularly good embroiderer, was sewing a long red sash that would sit around Astrid's waist. The red sash was another of the symbols of St. Lucia. According to legend, when Lucia was martyred, she wore a white gown and a red sash, with the red symbolizing the blood of her sacrifice. When they'd finished making their costumes, it was time for a rehearsal. Fr. Ken Carlson was a strict but kind teacher. Today, she wanted the children to practice singing all the Lucia songs they'd be performing tonight to make sure their harmonies were perfect. Astrid loved to sing. There was nothing better than feeling the notes rise in her throat and hearing the lovely music they made with all her friends and classmates. They practiced the Lucia song again and again. Night walks with heavy strides around farmsteads and house. Around the earth, the sun departs, leaving the woods. The shadows brood. In our dark house, wandering comes with candles. Saint Lucia, as she sang, she imagined herself as Saint Lucia, walking through the dark tunnels of the catacombs with her candles lighting up the way, even though Saint Lucia lived and died so long ago and so far away. There was something very reassuring and comforting about being her representative in the procession. It felt like Lucia's spirit would be walking with Astrid, lighting up the dark night for the people of Vastiana, keeping away the bad spirits and bringing in the good ones. As dusk fell, Astrid returned home. She couldn't eat very much supper because she was too excited about the procession. She helped her mother and grandmother get everything ready for little Nils to be put to bed. She gave him a kiss and a tickle on his soft chubby cheeks, then joined Mama, Papa, Grandma, and Linnea in getting ready for the evening's festivities.